Welcome to the forward slash where we lean into the future of IT. Today, our special guest is me and my beautiful co host, James Carmen. So, for this episode 0, as we're codenaming it, we're going to talk a little bit about our own personal background, what it is we want to do with the show, and why you should listen. So, James, you want to start us off? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name is James Carmen. I am the CTO at a little company called Calibrity. We're a small consulting company, about 115 folks right now. Um, we do a lot of custom software development, digital product engineering, if you will, right? My history, my background has primarily been in consulting. I went to school for computer science and mathematics. Once I graduated, I worked for a couple of different consulting companies. Software Architects was the first one out of college, and then I worked for a company. I kind of am embarrassed to say because it's one of those like fall from grace type companies. The name of the company was March 1st. It came out of Whitman Hart and US Web, CKS or something, but it's like a textbook study of like how not to run a company because it went like just down in flames. But anyway, it was a good company, good network. But after that, I went independent for many years. I was an independent consultant and did that for I think it was 17 years, and then joined up with a company called Cengage Learning, where I met Aaron, the host. We worked there for many years, and then I came to Calibrity about almost 5 years ago. And as the CTO, my job here at Calibrity, what I do is I'm in charge of making sure that everybody has all the skills and equipment and everything they need in order to do the job at hand and to make sure that our projects are running smoothly for our clients. How about you? What are you all about? Tell me, who are you and what do you do?
Well, I take the requirements from the customer, give them to the developers. No, that's a different part of my life, but I will get to that. That's a little foreshadowing. So I started off programming when I was a wee child, um, like 6 or 7 years old, and I still have the book that I learned from. And it was just typing in code, and then we would sit and debug it as like a father son exercise, type of thing. And they were just like little games, but this was back on like one of the original IBM like desktop PCs. So it had two 5 1/4 floppy drives, no hard
You had
drive.
two? Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
it had two. Wait, or did that one only have one? Oh, that may have only had one. It may have only had one. You're right. That one may have only had one. The one I had at home that I got several years later had two, but still no hard drive. So, um, yeah, learned on that. Continued to program as a hobby all the way up through high school, mostly basic A type stuff, and then got to college. Took my first official language, which was Fortran. Um, ended up uh but I ended up going an engineering route. So I wanted to do automation. So basically I wanted to make robots is what I wanted to do. And so when looking for a degree, the closest thing I could find was manufacturing systems engineering. And found an opportunity to work with an automation company, and they were basically doing material handling and tool fixtures for car assembly lines, and ended up getting into offline robot programming. So the weld robots would go in and weld up the body side of a vehicle, and I was on a simulator programming the robot through each step and setting its joint angles and whatever, and then I'd offload it or export it, and then go upload it to an actual robot in a testing circle that was fenced off because if it goes wrong, there's real consequences. and you'd watch the robot go through the motions. And I'm like, this is really cool. Um, I've kind of gotten to where I wanted to be, working with robots and doing that. And I'm like, I'm only 21 years old, and I don't foresee that this is going to pay enough to pay the bills that, or, enough for what I want to do. And so I started thinking about other things, and they had moved the R&D department of the company into our location. And I was talking to them about what they did, as kind of like a water cooler conversation. And they were saying, oh yeah, we develop like the tools that go into the CAD system so that we can do like special things. And I'm like, oh yeah, I used to do a bunch of coding and blah blah blah. And he's like, why aren't you coding now? And I don't know, is that a job offer? And he's like, yeah, if you want it to be. So I I transferred over. It just so happened that the system that they were working in used Fortran as its language. So I kind of slipped right into that and ended up changing majors and all that because I was still going to school at the time. Um, and changed to computer science. Well, because I was already in the workforce in going to school, I continued along that path. Ended up graduating with my uh, bachelor's of science in computer science about 10 years later with 9 years of experience, or 9 years later, I guess, with 9 years of experience in coding, um, which led me through a bunch of different things. I ended up moving to Texas and working for a bunch of companies in Texas. So I got to work in aerospace, um, and capital finance. I worked at an ISP, um, and uh, a company that worked with chip testers in the statistical analysis of the testing outcomes from them testing microchips. Uh, and that was right around the time that the whole PlayStation 3 issue happened, where a bunch of their chips were bad. Turns out that the what had happened was one of the testers actually was smashing and destroying chips on top of a stuck chip, and ended up causing havoc. In our software was running on the machine next to it, and if that had happened on that machine, we would have caught it and saved him millions. Um, and then I ended up moving back to Michigan because that's where my family's from, and worked at a couple of different automotive companies and some side automotive stuff, and then ended up at Cengage, where James and I met. I ended up being there for 10 years, and went back to an automotive company for about a year and a half. Was unhappy there, and reached out to James, and he's like, hey, you want a job? And I'm like, yeah, let's go. So so I've been here now for, was that 3 years or 2 years? 3 years. 3 years. And that's where I'm at. I've actually, one of my feathers in my cap, I've actually worked in every position on an agile team, including product owner in some capacity. So, um, everywhere from developer to QA to systems analyst to product owner. So, um, all of those things. James and I were talking about what we wanted to do with this podcast and why you should listen. And we started off with, well, first of all, we feel like there's a lot of technical topics that aren't widely known. And we wanted to share that information with the world, basically, and trying to raise the bar collectively on the technologies in use the proper way to use them, and what they're used for in certain cases.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, those hot takes, if you will, of the industry, and it's great. You and I have had many years of experience. Um, you were talking about IBM computers. People don't know what a floppy drive is. Like, we've had a lot of experience, but there's new stuff, right? We don't know about all of the new things, and there's new opinions about things that we might maybe seem a little stuck in our ways, that could be maybe challenging to us. And I think it's good to talk about those kind of topics. Maybe we could even, learn something from, of course, right? We can always learn something new. So I think that's interesting. When I think about why is it interesting to, I mean, this is kind of Calibrity's podcast, right? Why would anyone be interested in hearing from Calibrity? I think, the one thing about consulting is, uh, you get that varied experience. We work with a lot of different clients in a lot of different industries, and we have people who have a lot of years. So you multiply all those things out, and it becomes a pretty uh, broad body of knowledge that we can share with folks, and bring that experience to enrich others, if you will.
Yeah, and we talk to real people with real stories about real problems. It's not anything made up, it's not theoretical. It's like these are experiences that a lot of our consultants have had, in how they use different technologies to solve those things in their experiences, and maybe some of the like best practices as well.
Absolutely. And of course, I mean, we're funny, right? So I mean, we want to make sure that we're sharing how funny
Only
we
on
are with
days that
everyone.
end in Y. So one of the things that we like to do to keep things light and fun at the end of every episode is to have our guests, whoever they may be, go through a lightning round of questions where we ask some off the wall questions that have nothing to do with technology most of the time, just to get an idea of who they are. Well, we've decided that if we're doing this to everybody else, we should do this to ourselves as well. So we'll be doing a bit of a lightning round battle back and forth between James and I.
Battle,
James
I
and
love it.
me. James and
James and
I.
me,
James
yes,
and
we
me.
do. We do grammar lessons here on the /podcast as well.
I'll start off our lightning round. So, James, cake or pie?
Pie. Um, what temperature do you like to set your thermostat at?
68.
Very nice.
What is your favorite martial art?
Well, I studied Shotokan, so I'd say that would have to be a Shotokan karate. How do you feel about cranberries?
Love them. The juice,
Nice.
the actual cranberries. I even like the jelly can stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Who doesn't,
Uh,
though? I mean, come
are,
on.
are dogs people?
Mine are. They even have a voice that I do for them. Yeah, absolutely. Dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
Dark. On a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at trivia?
I'm having a tough time answering this question. Oh, I guess I would make it a one. I don't know. I think I do. I do okay. I'm about I don't know, solid 7.42. All right. Have Have you ever seen a kangaroo in person?
Yes. Not in the wild. It was in a zoo, but it was in person. Uh, describe what you like to do on weekends, but in a Valley Girl voice.
I like to go running. How's that? How'd I do?
It's all right, but you did throw in like the oh my
Gag me with a
god,
spoon or
or
something. Oh my
gag me with a
gosh, I like
spoon.
totally like to go running. Okay.
Yes, there you go. That was much
There we
better.
go. All
I'll
right.
give you
Okay.
creds on that one.
From 1 to 10, how hot do you like your shower water?
7?
That's a cop out. I at least added decimals to mine. Seven's the easy answer.
Well, 7.13589 to be specific.
Nice. Is there a line over the 9? Is that a repeating?
No,
Is that an
it is
irrational
not.
number?
It is it's a non-repeating decimal.
Okay, that is the exact number. Sorry, that would still be rational if it was repeating.
So we hope to see you in future episodes of the / where we lean into the future of IT. Thank you again to my beautiful co-host, James Carmen. And I am Aaron Chesney. Give us a listen.